We're back, another episode of MPTV. This one is kind of brought to you by, I guess, sugar-free Red Bull, right?
Red Bull.
Because Kristian and I are both riding the boo. Kristian, Mr. Cotta.
What's up,
Kristian
Matt?
Cotta, tell the studio audience, I guess it's technically the internet audience, who you are.
The wide world web
There we
audience.
Who is Kristian from Arizona?
My name is Kristian Cotta. Technically, I own Local 480 Media, one of your partners on the West Coast.
West Coast.
Who knows? Maybe America's Best Restaurants West. We'll see. Yeah, so I own Local 480 Media out in Phoenix, Arizona. We work with you on restaurant marketing for restaurants throughout Phoenix, Arizona. Also have a newly formed restaurant development company.
Yeah, we'll get into that, some real estate stuff.
Local restaurant group development. So we work with our clients and national credit tenants on expanding their restaurants through smart site selection.
Yeah, because I know your background, we'll get into that a little later, your background is in real estate through some family stuff, but
I'm a restaurant entrepreneur because of you.
Yeah, so I met you a few years ago.
Yeah.
Ironically, this past week I was in, where the heck was I? Miami, Florida. And I was speaking to a group of entrepreneurs about connecting with people in the industry. They call it a Dream 100 strategy. I put on paper the people who had books and podcasts that Matt Plapp needed to know about so that I could find out what they were doing and also reach their audience. And I met you through D-Lo.
Yep.
I knew D-Lo's podcast and knew him through the bar and restaurant insurance world. And from that connection came a connection to you, which built into you helping us work with restaurants in the Arizona markets. And it's been interesting because you're not the traditional marketing guy like me, but you've got a brain that understands the fact that everybody's here. Like they're in this phone, they're consumers, whether they're at a stoplight or in your drive-thru or in your showroom or on their sofa or in the hot tub. Like when I get my hot tub a couple times a day, I'm on my damn phone watching YouTube videos, business stuff typically, or funny office rewinds or Shaq pranks. But you understand that. So talk about what you've seen. It's been 2 years. Mm-hmm. What are a couple aha moments for you with regards to what we're working with restaurants through you on and what you've seen that has impacted the business, things that have maybe opened your eyes up that you were surprised about?
I mean, the quick answer is that the thing that's hit me the most is that the saying, the riches are in the niches.
Okay.
I mean, my background, like you mentioned at the beginning here, is 20 years, and that sounds crazy to me.
And you're old.
Yeah, I'm 44. I don't look 44.
Wow. Did they have electric when you were a kid?
Yeah, right. I didn't have a cell phone till college.
So sidebar, I was making fun of a guy at the gym the other day for about 5 minutes, pretty hard about how old he was. Uh-huh. And somebody goes, Matt, because he was like 39. Somebody's like,
he looked older.
That's 46. Yeah. He goes, what? Oh, you're younger than me. I'm like, no, he's a jackass.
No, we probably both get that all the time. But yeah, 44. So I have 20 years of commercial real estate experience. When the market crashed in 2007,
2007, 8, 9.
I had nothing to do for like 2 years. And then I finally found a developer that would hire me, worked with him for, a couple of years. But that was when Facebook and YouTube and Twitter were first kind of coming on the scene.
Yep.
And in commercial real estate, it's really different because it's not like residential. Like you work with either local business owners or you work with corporate real estate people. And so when the market crashed, all my contacts, which I didn't even realize at the time were 85% restaurants, McDonald's, Starbucks, Burger King, Taco Bell. Like, I didn't even put two and two together.
You were working with all restaurants already?
Seriously, and that's what made it real easy when we started working together, because I was already helping them identify sites, and I understood everything from the real estate criteria. Now it was just kind of understanding how the marketing...
How to get people to the site.
Exactly. And so, like I said, when the market crashed is when all this social media first started taking off. So I thought to myself, half the people that I worked with are no longer in the industry. The other half have either been shuffled around to new markets and new territories. So it was kind of like you have your Rolodex and your reputation. Well, I still had the reputation, but my Rolodex was like in tatters.
Yeah.
So how could I take or leverage technology to be able to speed up that process? Because I'd already been doing it for like 8, 9, 10 years. And, you know, as a young broker coming up, you're grinding. And I didn't want to go through that grind of like starting my brokerage business all over again. So I dove into like social media and how to start using that for business. Nobody was doing it on Facebook. Yeah, the ad platform was like the sidebar, and you had 5.
Oh yeah,
you
5 options.
Yeah, you could do health and fitness, medical, like, you know, it was super, super remedial. And so I started kind of doing that, and then all of a sudden funnels and copywriting and email marketing. So I actually took a break from real estate, and I went to work for Todd Brown, marketing funnel automation.
Okay.
And I wanted to learn everything I could. So
yeah, because you also went through 6th Division.
So from marketing funnel automation, then I went to work for Brad Martineau, and I was their inside marketing director.
Did I tell you that this logo was inspiration from them?
Yeah, I think you mentioned it, but I forgot.
So I'll tell everybody else in the audience. So there's a company called 6th Division. Are they still around? Mm-hmm. They're in Arizona. I met them at Traffic and Conversions, a marketing conference, and I bought something I shouldn't have bought. Oh, yeah. Like I bought their program, and I had no right to buy it. You. Yeah, and it was not a good idea, but I learned stuff. And in that process of learning stuff, I got a free T-shirt. And the free T-shirt was their logo, and it was, if you looked at it, it was a 6 and a D within each other. If you looked at it, you didn't see a 6 and a D unless you knew it.
Yep.
And it was like a Star Wars looking shirt, and I was like, "That's pretty." I used to love it.
I brought the hat here.
I wore the shirt all the time, and when it got to a point where I realized I was going to go every day all in orange, because I had already been doing a lot of it, but I'm like, you know what? Billy Jean, my coach, said, Matt, I don't ever want to see you not in orange again. But I was wearing golf shirts, and I'm not a golf shirt guy. I'm a T-shirt guy. And so I bought some orange T-shirts. I'm like, well, this looks stupid. I just got an orange T-shirt. Like, nobody wants to have America's Best Restaurants, like, for the most part. Now I'm finding we do have a lot of people want those now, but I didn't want our company names or Matt Plapp on them. And so I went to my designer, and I said, hey, I need you to design me. Here's the shirt. Here's the logo that's giving me this vision. Make me an M and a P that doesn't look like an M and a P. And he comes back with the lamest shit ever. Not gonna lie. He's a friend of mine. He does a lot of stuff for us, but he doesn't. That's not his specialty. He comes back with literally a bunch of M and Ps, and I'm like seriously, like Paige and Cole could have did this on like Microsoft Word, bro. And so I went to this website, Google. I don't know if you heard of it or not. Okay. I went to Google, and I put in like I think I put a combination of like MP logos. And I get to literally, I'm not lying, I was looking for a long time. I got to like page 20 or 30. It was way down there. And I come up to this black and yellow, what looked like it was an M and a P, and it was a gap. I'm like, oh my gosh, if that was like put together, it could be a fist and then this and that. So I took that. I went to Upwork.com. I had a guy on Upwork that we had worked with on some logo stuff. I then go to my friend. This guy's our logo. He'd done stuff. I said, hey, here's this logo I like. Here's the changes, the colors. And he came back with the MP. So, not to interrupt your story, but good. The 6th Division, I forgot about that our journeys kind of intersected, and that my free T-shirt was the motivation for the MP.
Well, I took, it was about 2010 when I first started working with Todd, and then I took all his courses. Like, I got into his funnel, and the next thing, and I also, backtrack a little. I was a beta tester for ClickFunnels. I'm user number 44. So, like, I had no business being on this webinar, and I'm watching Russell Brunson talk about funnels. And
he was like 12.
I'm like, I don't know what that is, but I need it. And so, like, I got immersed in this digital marketing world, but the goal was always to try and figure out how to use it for real estate. So I worked for Todd. While I was working for Todd, I had a buddy, and we created a company called AZ Brand Real Estate. And so the idea was I'd never sold a house in my life, but we were going to be the first ones to figure out how to generate buyer and seller leads using funnels and using Facebook ads. And it wasn't as easy as I thought. And I hated selling houses, and I didn't like dealing with the people that,
bought houses. Consumers.
They didn't like the paint on the wall and just everything. It wasn't a fit. So then I started working with Brad. And
what years were you at 6th Division?
It was like 17.
Oh my God! So you were probably in the office when I was there.
Yeah,
You had to have
I'm
been.
pretty sure.
Because I went to TNC.
When Brad was talking, and we had a booth right next to the main
It was.
event.
I think it was 2017. I think it was. It might have been 2018. It was either 2017. It might have been 2018. And he spoke in a
one of the side rooms, though, right?
He spoke in a big room, and then they had the booth, and I went out there.
Yeah,
and then
we had our booth right next to the main hall, and then ClickFunnels. We were next to ManyChat.
Okay, which is ironic because we were big ManyChat users, which is probably why I saw the booth.
And then Molly Pittman and Ezra were on the other side. Yeah.
So me and Mark Lester from the team, who works 11 hours a week, and don't ask me why it's a random number, but Mark's got 11 hours a week. He's a retired New York State cop, and he works on our account management analyzation team. Him and I went out there, and he was the farthest thing from marketing. But I'm like, hey, I want you to come with me. I want to kind of indoctrinate you into the world. But you were probably there when we bought it.
Yeah.
So I blame you.
And it was about that time that I started Local 480, and I started it just as well. So we had started.
And 480 is the area code.
The area code in Phoenix. So
you're not a union.
No.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
But there is a video filmmaking union in New Mexico that is called Local 480. So we couldn't get local480.com. We had to get the local480.com. And so I started AZ Brand Real Estate, and then we were trying to film local restaurants, things that people that wanted to buy and sell a house would say, hey, if I want to buy and sell a house, what are the restaurants or what are the events in, Chandler or Gilbert? And so we started doing that when no one was doing video, and we started Instagram because I knew everyone was coming from Facebook to Instagram. Well, quickly, the restaurant owners started reaching out to us, and I was like, this is not a real estate thing. These restaurant owners need help.
Yep.
And I was like, okay, we can help them through social media, and then I can take the real estate and now I can jump back into commercial because I know I know how these restaurant owners work, but I knew it was going to take some time. Like you were talking about patience. Like you see it, but you can't just teleport there. You got to.
What year was that?
This was
2020?
2018. So I think Local 480 in next month in August, it'll be 4 years.
4 years.
Yeah,
Congrats.
Yeah. So we started with an Instagram account, and we were just doing social media.
Is that before Facebook owned Instagram?
No. They purchased. That's why everyone was shifting from Facebook to Instagram.
Have you ever heard the story about Instagram being bought by Facebook, and that was
and then they tried to buy Snapchat.
Well, it was like some $1 billion deal, and there were 7 employees in Instagram.
Yeah, it was crazy.
It was like a micro company, but they were on to something.
Well, didn't Facebook buy WhatsApp for like $250,000, and then
I don't know.
They bought Instagram for $1 billion?
Oh, yeah, something crazy. No, what's wild about that? What you said is that one of the things I preached a long time ago. I had a guy I did a seminar for some real estate and mortgage professionals, and they were all trying to find different ways. And I said, you got to connect with. You can't connect with your customers just about selling and buying and selling houses. Because they're going to buy a house and sell a house every 4 to 10 years, 5 to 10 years, and maybe even longer. I lived in my first house for 14 years. Mm-hmm. I said, you got to connect with, and plus, who gives a shit? Once you bought a house or sold it, you're done.
Yeah.
Like, you got to find a way to connect with people differently. And this guy was in the crowd, and I said, give me an example. What are you doing? Because I'm a mortgage broker. I said, okay, you're a mortgage broker, and who are most of your clients? He's like, realtors. And I said, okay, give me more detail on the realtor. Give me an avatar. This is big for any business, especially restaurants. Like, you should know who you're talking to. And he broke it down that it was really about a 45-year-old female was the most of his real estate agents that referred to him. I said, okay. And I said, and this is in front of a group. I said, now tell me about you. You know what I mean? I'm like, married, single, kids, no kids. Like, give me all this stuff. And it turns out he's a single father raising his son on his own. And I said, okay. I said, I think that would be something that these women would respect more than probably a guy because the women understand it more than a guy. Like, I appreciate it, but not as much because my wife raises our kids. I don't know how much of a crazy hassle it is. I don't want to say hassle, maybe the wrong word. But I said, here's what I want you to do. If you want to stand out differently and you want to make more of an impact with these realtors, they're not going to watch videos about mortgage shit. I want you to go with your son and you create videos documenting every kid's meal in the city. You go on Facebook, what's up? It's I can't remember his name. It was so-and-so with little Johnny. As you know, we're hitting every place in town. You know, I'm a single dad. I want to make sure that I make the most out of my relationship. So we're going to go on the tour. We're going to find every kid's meal in the city. I said, next thing you know, all these women are envious of like what you're doing. They appreciate you more. Might be a great dating ploy too. I don't know. Might be a great dating ploy. Maybe
I'd end up not being a single dad.
Maybe that might be how Tinder started. I don't know. But I said, but at the end of the day, you're going to have all these realtors that you're trying to connect with. You connect with them differently. I connect with a lot of people differently with my Fire with Dad. Like next week, we're doing Fire with Dad on my Dwayne Plapp escapades in the airport because there's been a lot of shit he's done in airports that's just comical. It's like
everyone can.
It's like Kramer from Seinfeld, and so that was my idea to him. Well, of course he didn't do it because in order to do it, you got to get uncomfortable and you got to invest. You got to invest in like a $9 tripod, and you got to take the device you use every day, your phone, and you got to go, hey, what's up? And so he didn't do it, of course, but you're right. Like you were trying to connect with people in the real estate business about what's in the community because that's an impactful thing. And so here we are, flash forward, we're in the restaurant world together.
Yeah.
And ironically, restaurants in 2022 aren't doing that.
Well, it's funny because you're talking about I was trying to connect with buyers and sellers, but I caught the attention of restaurant owners because they didn't feel comfortable doing that.
And they still don't.
Well, and so that brought, with Local 480, it was like, okay, we can help them because we're garnering all the attention. So it's attention arbitrage.
It's kind of making it easier.
Yes, it's kind of like what you talk about with the restaurants, what Gary Vee talks about, what you're really trying to capitalize on is attention, eyeballs.
Yep.
And so we didn't mean to become a influencer, but we built that account up to, 80,000 followers.
Yep.
And so we figured out how can we not make it about us? You never see our face. It's always
thank God.
Yeah, God, it's a moneymaker. But
you have a face for radio.
Yeah, thank you. But you never saw our face. Like we're not trying to host per se the shows or anything like that. We're trying to get them more involved, get them more comfortable. Yep. And so, to cut back to what we were saying, one of my mentors when I worked at one of the big development companies in Tucson told me that there's only two things you have, your reputation and your Rolodex. And I mentioned that. And so what I started to realize is that I now was building a Rolodex of every restaurant operator in Phoenix. And
which is what we're doing at America's Best Restaurants.
Which is what made perfect sense, for us connecting. But these are direct cell phone number, like everything, and they know who it is. So it's became way easier to talk to them than it did when I was even a real estate broker. And I actually was like, hey, do you want to lease this space, or are you interested in this? Because now I had their trust because I had a reputation for being able to help them. And so it made perfect sense for us to, partner up.
So you've seen how obviously what we do at a deep level. Mm-hmm. What's been some of your feedback from clients? Because you work with your clients directly. I don't really know them. I was out there a few times. Yeah. And I remember talking to the gentleman and his wife at Cineholic.
Yep.
And I remember them saying that like this was
they love the program.
That this was driving trackable, tangible traffic, and that's just one element. Like we've got 51 things. So I talk about 51 blue ocean strategies, of which what we're doing for them.
They don't even know about the 50.
Yeah, they know like
4.
Yeah, like 4 of them.
And they're the number one Cineholic franchise out of 125.
So why aren't the other 124 using us?
Oh, that's another podcast.
It's another podcast. So that's probably where it comes up. One of the reasons we don't work with a lot of franchises, but that might eventually.
No, their corporate's been great. Yeah. The problem is when you get a franchise, and this is what we talk about all the time, the program is really like if you were to do a kill shot on a target, the localized mom and pop
is it
where there's no ticker tape, all that.
Now the corporate stuff.
When we first started working with Cineholic, they had 25 locations open.
And how many they have now?
125.
That's some growth.
And it's been, a year?
Jeez, that's,
It's one of the fastest growing franchises in the country.
So apparently there's a lot of people out there that are Cineholics.
Yeah, apparently. And vegan.
Is it vegan?
Yeah, all vegan.
Cineholic's vegan?
Everything.
So when I ate there, I was vegan?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
So you were eating cinnamon rolls and doing it in a healthy way.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
So I've had 3 instances now in my life. I was on a ski trip I was up in Whistler, Blackcomb, but we stopped in Vancouver, and the only chocolate chip cookie this coffee place had, they were a vegan coffee place. Mm-hmm. They had a vegan one. And so I ate it, and I shamed everybody in my group the next 24 hours.
Because you were vegan.
Because I'm vegan. And well, how dare you eat that food? How dare you, that cattle, like what they went through. And I'm just kidding. Yeah, no, so I was vegan when I was at Cineholic.
Absolutely.
I felt like I made a change in life that day. I didn't know what it was.
Yeah, guilt-free cinnamon rolls.
Wow.
Not really.
Yeah.
Probably depends how much.
How much
Actually, you know what? They do have a cinnamon roll that you can put like salsa and like jalapeno. You
What?
can make it like a taco.
Like a dinner? Like a
Like a
taco.
taco.
So it's a vegan cinnamon roll taco.
Yeah, I mean it's just dough, so it's kind of.
So
like,
why do they like the program? What are they seeing? What are they seeing that makes them smile as a restaurant owner?
well, so this really ties into what all the new stuff that we've been talking about with how we're taking it from just the primary program to all the blue ocean strategies. They do from a corporate standpoint, corporate is great at supporting them with constantly putting out content and helping them post. We help them create, video content and, TikTok and Instagram Reels content and things like that. They get tons of traction on Yelp, their website. Like it's got a name brand and because it's growing, a lot of people are seeing it everywhere, so it's the attention aspect. And so it's not just one thing, it's a compound effect of being able to do these multiple things.
So what is it, though, that the attention goes to the database? Are they seeing a lot of new faces walk in?
So when we talk to corporate says, look, at any given point, they're always in the top, 5 to 10, and Chantel and Aaron sit on a franchise board. And so every week they meet with corporate and they talk about things they can improve, sales, marketing, all that kind of stuff. And so that question comes up a lot. And Chantel says, look, we're willing to invest money outside of what you guys, do. Yeah. And one of corporate's heartburns is that every single franchisee is like, can you help us more with marketing? Like we need more. And they're like, we're posting on your Facebook and Instagram, but that doesn't do it.
No, it doesn't. That's a red ocean strategy.
Yeah.
I mean, the example I always use, I show Papa John's Pizza next to Basilio's. Mm-hmm. Papa John's has 6.7 million fans. Basilia has 4,600. And their posts consistently have the same level of engagement.
Yeah.
It's 1,400 times more fans for the same exact outcome. And it's because Papa John's, like a lot of these corporations, are using, it's just buy my food, buy my food, buy my food. They're puking on their customers instead of having conversations like the video I showed you this morning. I think I showed it to you, the wine and in the wine cellar. I mean, wine bottles, all that kind of stuff. So you've got to definitely change it up. But the big part also, what I run across, and this is one of the reasons that we haven't embraced franchise corporate offices. We tried to years ago, and we got away from it because they have a marketing department. But that marketing department is working within a smaller confine and a narrower window of doing stuff, and they don't have the depth of expertise on certain topics. And that's where, Tom is in there right now building out a new campaign for one of our clients, all the automation of Messenger and text and Instagram and Facebook and grabbing data and putting people in a 120-day funnel based on them being a new loss or frequent, and they came in right away or they didn't. That's something that can't be. They say you can't fake the funk on a nasty dunk. Remember that back in the day? That's
the dunk you did on me yesterday.
Yeah, that was vicious. We should have got that on camera. But that to me is a thing that goes over their head. They think they're supplying marketing. Well, yeah, you're supplying turnkey basic elements. And at the end of the day, that's not going to cut it.
They're getting too busy.
Plus, the other aspect, biggest thing is they've got somebody in that office that their depth of knowledge is how to make a Facebook post.
It's just what we talk about. The riches are in the niches. Yeah. They're trying to go 20 miles wide instead of 20 miles
and that's where
deep.
You got to bring experts in. And that's one thing that we fell into is seeing that these corporate offices like, oh, you got a restaurant and you're a franchisee. They do give excellent advice on site development and on location and all this, but it's like, okay, now you have to acquire people locally. And like there's a brand I know that's getting ready to franchise, and it's a good brand. I eat it all the time. And somebody's going to buy a franchise from 4 hours from here, guarantee you. That brand is not known there. And so unless
it's different.
That brand that's here who's got a couple locations that's done a lot of success in like 5 years, that success is compounded because of their local reach and marketing and the longevity. When that guy buys it or a woman buys it 4 hours away and opens a location up, they're going to have a little buzz early on, and 2 months later, like, what do we do? Oh, we'll make Facebook posts, make Instagram posts. Like, no, that shit doesn't work. Like, you got to have a strategy, and we always say attract, build, retain. Attract attention, build a database with the attention, and then retain the people's attention with the database usage.
Well, let's to expand on what you're talking about. You got a franchise that's might open up 4 hours away. Crab and Spice is I'd say one of our best clients.
Yeah. What is it, like 4 of them now? 5, 6?
Yeah, 6 using the program, but all the numbers look the same. Primarily on the dashboard. We know their Southern California locations are just absolutely killing it.
So I know there's Vegas, California, Arizona.
Vegas
right?
is killing it. He's opening a second location in
nice.
3 to 4.
Henderson, right?
6 months, yes.
Yeah.
By the end of the year. But then if we look at the Arizona location, the dashboard, we'd be like, oh, it must be killing it just like the other ones. But the only sales coming through are from our program.
Yeah.
And that's because, again, like you said, sold a franchise to a franchisee that wasn't a restaurant operator. I think bought it for his wife, and then she decided she didn't want to run a restaurant, so then he had to run it. And then from a real estate perspective, signed a lease on a 15,000 square foot space when they only need 2,300.
Jesus, I would say 15,000 square. That's a big restaurant. Yeah. That's a lot of wasted cost per square footage there.
And so the per square foot sales are way low compared to the other ones. But then on top of that too, in a new market where, in my expertise opinion of site selection and how restaurants should enter this market in particular in Phoenix, would have been location number 5 or 6.
Okay.
So
you're saying it would have been the 5th or 6th one you would have chosen after they already had these other
4
marquee.
or 5, yep.
So, okay, let's shift into real estate then, because that's your expertise. And talked about marketing. Talk about site selection. Talk about restaurants. Like, I've heard the president of CVS say many times that he's not in the pharmaceutical or retail business. He's in the real estate business, and how they've shifted. And I've seen it happen where they'll have a location here, and then 2 years later they've moved half a block away, and it alters their sales.
Yeah.
Talk about what restaurants should look for when they're looking at, let's say I'm a restaurant owner and I've got a location and I got a lease coming up and sales are going good, but what would encourage me to look somewhere else?
Well, I mean, you and I were having a conversation outside of here. You mentioned a place where it wasn't necessarily a experienced restaurant operator. The food was good, and then they just jumped right into franchising.
Yeah.
Well, what we're looking at is, as we go into...
Which, by the way, they were out of business in a year after that.
Yeah. So how'd that work?
Yeah.
And so what we're looking at is when we go in and we follow the same process that you guys are doing with America's Best Restaurants, we're scheduling a video, providing something of value, building rapport. We're sort of, at the same time, it's our qualification checklist as to are they qualified for the program? And if so, great. If they're qualified for the program, do they qualify for keeping tabs on for the potential of working together for real estate?
Okay.
And so just like we have a checklist for the ROI engine, we're sort of, and Adam, who's sitting back here, talk to him about the same thing. Number one, when I shake hands with him, you can pretty much tell if this operator has their
shake my hand.
Like, do you have your shit together?
I don't know.
Mr. Operator. But when you start talking to him, like, oh, this guy runs a tight ship, a really good restaurant. Then you try the food. Food's off the charts. Okay, great. So you're looking and you're saying, wow, the signage looks awesome. The
TVs have been
booths.
dusted. There's not Scotch tape on every wall.
Oh my, yeah, like just the name of the items on the menu. Like we were talking about that, that vegan restaurant. We'll get back on vegan in Atlanta.
I am a vegan.
Fantastic. Yeah, you are.
Well, for a day.
Yeah. So do those 3 things, the branding, is it scalable? Is the food good? Is the operator good? The financial qualifications can come in later, but if all those things are working, then now there's something that we can work with. And so it's one of 2 things. Let's say they get on the program. Well, we know that if they start making money, the natural progression is either they're going to want to open a second or third location of their own, or they're going to want a franchise. Those are the 2 options.
Yeah.
They either go the corporate route or they go the franchise route. So if they go franchise, and I'll come back to Crab and Spice, what are the things that appeal to potential franchisees? I mean, you were just talking about it. They have to be able to show sales.
Yep.
This restaurant, we've validated the concept. We have this store that's doing this much in sales, so you can expect that. Well, we can help them with that with the marketing.
Okay.
But what else?
Turnkey solutions.
What else is going to entice a franchisee? If they have a real estate criteria,
Site selection arm.
they have their corporate marks, the guidelines, all that
Branding,
stuff. Make it easy for a new franchisee to step in. And so what we're looking at doing is helping them create that prototype footprint. Things have changed since COVID. These restaurants like a Crab and Spice, they need a freestanding footprint and they need an end cap footprint, but it needs to be efficient.
See what happened kind of going on that line. I won't mention the brand, but a barbecue brand came into our area. I guess it would have been 2019, year before the pandemic. And they chose a location. It was a franchisee. Guy had never been in the restaurant space and chose a location near my house. And where I'm at, you only are going to eat down there if you live there. Like, we live on the backside of the suburbs. And almost all the restaurants are on the the middle of the suburbs or closer to like it's farther you come kind of in city. And this restaurant was a specific barbecue restaurant near our house. And I told people, I said, it won't last a year. Why? It's great food. Yeah, it's excellent food. So number one, the brand means jack shit here. Nobody's ever heard of it.
Yeah.
And so it's like La Rosa's is a big pizza brand here. They went down to Tennessee with a location and it failed. Nobody knows what La Rosa's is down there unless you have the market funds to advertise the hell out of things. You're not going to succeed. The other thing was this location was not near where people are. So like if you picture a map, and the bottom of the map is where we are. The only people coming down here to eat are the people that live in here. These people up here aren't coming down. Whereas if you put it up here, Matt Plapp and my family are forced to drive to Florence to eat all the time. So everybody meets in the middle. People from Florence come here. People from Hebron come here. Edgewood, Erlang, they all come there. Nobody goes to Union.
Yeah.
And sure enough, the restaurant closed. The pandemic was just the nail in the coffin. It was closing regardless of the pandemic because a couple of things. They had a brand that was unknown, an operator that had never been in the restaurant business, had no clue what he was doing with restaurants, and then you had a location that was not ideal. Maybe in 10 years, 5 to 10 years, that location, because people are building out down farther south of it. But at this point, it's not there.
Yeah, and the other thing, since we're talking about real estate, look at the things that changed since the pandemic. I mean, the delivery, the takeout, all of that.
Yeah.
Right? So, like, one thing, if you model what other successful businesses are doing, if you look at, like, the Chipotle's, the Starbucks, and they've been doing this since pre-pandemic. They're trying to get a drive-through, or they're trying to make it create those convenience factors. So the ability to help restaurants understand how to lay out their schematics so that they have that efficient kitchen to where it serves the dining room, but there's almost like a takeout window, and they're not, taking up important spaces, parking spaces right up front. They put them on the side.
Yeah, the Chipotle is changing that. The one in Erlanger near my gym was closed for like a month remodeling.
Put a drive-through.
Yeah, they put it's not like they don't call it a drive-through, pickup window.
Yeah, the Chipotle lane.
Yeah, is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, because I've actually seen some articles of how we don't want people thinking this is a drive-through.
You order on the app.
You got to order on the app. You wait your time. Your number hits. You come up. You get your stuff. But they've actually, the ones I've seen done, which is pretty cool, they've got their own line there.
Yeah.
So they've got two lines running. One line for the pickup, for the people coming to pick it up. They're not going back and forth. So your 3 employees over here running your retail aren't doing that.
Yeah.
And I had the opposite of that the other day. I was at a place up in Cincinnati. What is the name of that place? Crap. Mine's going blank. It's like a Chipotle brand, but it's like a one-off. They've got a handful of locations, I want to say, around the world or in the country. Man, what is the name of that place? Off of Kenwood Road exit. It's driving me crazy now, but they have. I like going there because they have sweet potato you can get in your burrito.
Oh.
Like steak and sweet. It's fire. But they have their line, and this is how a lot of restaurants are.
Yeah.
And those people are like, I'm waiting, and they're making all these orders because they're creating the Uber Eats order.
Yeah.
So there's like 7 Uber Eats people in front of me, and consumers have a hard time. I understood it, and it's how most places are. But I'm sitting there waiting for them to make these like 7 orders, and then eventually it gets my turn. But I loved like when I saw the Chipotle make that change. Like the one where I live in Union has always been that way.
Yeah, they have the dedicated section.
Yeah, dedicated section for the to-go, for the pickup, and then they have delivery, and then they have the dedicated section for retail because consumers we're impatient, we're stupid. And I say that me. and we don't comprehend that, hey, there's all these different things. So in that case, I'm standing in line like, why aren't you waiting on me? Well,
think about this too. If you want that convenience, you can't drive into the drive-through and order. They're forcing you to use the app, which means you have to sign up, which means they collect your data.
Yeah, Corrido, that was the name of the place. You ever seen that?
No.
It was a northwest brand, I think, and then the guys that own a bunch of restaurants here bought it, but they do a great job. But there's not many of them. I was hoping they'd make more of them because it's like Chipotle and hothead burritos kind of mix. You can go in and get different gourmet burritos, and like sweet potato in a burrito is really good. You get rice, sweet potato, and steak, and then some hot sauce.
It's like your healthy burrito.
Yeah, I mean, when you're vegan occasionally, you have to make these shifts in your lifestyle. But yeah, so really, that's one thing to look at too, because I know that's something that's come up with the pandemic.
Yeah.
Is there was a lot of real estate where people were trying, like I knew a person that kept trying to get a drive-through, and the landlord said no, the city said no. And then all of a sudden the pandemic hits, and the city's like, hell yeah, and the landlord's like, let's do it. So here's a restaurant that has a window cut, and now they're able to satisfy that need. So that's a big thing in 22, 2023, 24, you're going to be looking at more of developing.
Yeah. So that's one of the, the big key items. The other thing too is, and it comes back to the same thing we talked to the restaurants about with marketing. You can outspend or outsmart.
Yep.
Well, a Corrido is not going to outspend a Chipotle.
No.
And so they've got to be smart about, how do they expand and how do they, support the expansion. And so the way that I think about this is, we're coming in and helping a restaurant and building a relationship with them, gaining their trust because, for the first time they spend money on marketing and they actually see it work. And then they see how well it works. And so they're like, oh, okay, you can help us generate sales.
Yep.
Well, now we have their trust. So when we start talking to them about a second location or a third location, that's expensive, right? So for them to, hire, try and get an internal real estate committee and
it's not possible.
Do all this, well, what we can do is come in, and if we if we work with them as a preferred developer, now we know that we're guaranteed to be able to work with them on a certain number of deals over time. And so it makes more sense for us to invest in them if we've qualified them.
Yeah.
And so then we can, in essence, become a de facto real estate committee.
Love it.
Right? And so we can meet with them once a month, twice a month. We can go out and work with the brokers. We can speak the language. We can hire the architects. We can, pull our civil engineers. We can, raise capital, do all that stuff. And we know that it's a win-win for both. So
that's awesome.
Yeah. So that's what.
Well, there we go. That's Kristian Cotta. So I appreciate you coming on the podcast.
Yeah. Thank you.
Shake that hand again and make sure you like me, because you said that was
a good operator.
A good operator. So there we go. MPTV, another episode in the books. We talked about real estate, we talked about marketing, and we talked about a mystery third time that I was a vegan that I didn't even know. See you next episode.
Snuck that one under.
Snuck it on the radar. See you next time.